Our film Bloodline falls under the genre of action. For those who are unaware, action films are known for a lot of shooting, fighting, chase scenes, and torture. Conventions are significant as it helps the audience understand the genre alongside the narrative. Therefore, as a group, we decided that our trailer Bloodline should conform with as many conventions associated with the genre, and try not to challenge them, as this would distance our trailer from its preserved genre. One may say there are a lot of conventions in action films. However, in order to be more specific when it came down to the conventions, we only used ones pertaining to the subgenre of crime. Secondly, in order to be successful at establishing the conventions associated with the genre, we looked at 3 films which fell under it. This included Taken, The Call, and finally, Don't Say a Word. One of the areas we followed conventions was when it came down to iconography. One of the first conventions we conformed with as a group was fighting. In the trailer of Taken, you see the main character Liam Neeson having hand-to-hand combat with his enemy, and we replicated this as Hugh Johnson, our main character, is fighting with one of the members of the gang that kidnapped his wife. Another convention that we conformed with was when it came down to the props used. Throughout the films that I analysed, it became evidence that a gun was used, more specifically a hand pistol. For example, in Taken, Liam Neeson is shooting at his enemy. The use of such a prop like a gun allows the audience to see the protagonist as an authoritative figure. Therefore, we decided to replicate this in our film. When it came down to explosions, we also followed conventions. Firstly, in The Call, there is a scene where gasoline is poured over the victim and then set alight. We aimed to replicate this as we poured petrol over our victim and used a matchstick to start a fire. In addition, we used a clip of a grenade spitting sparks in our trailer, as this also represented explosions. Finally, we followed conventions when it came down to car crashes and car chases. For example, in Taken and The Call, there were car chases which were then followed by car crashes, and in our film, one of the antagonist's henchmen was driving, and later on in the trailer, he crashed the car. One of the ways we followed conventions was through the storyline. Firstly, throughout the film that we analysed, one of the reoccurring storylines was that the protagonist would be searching for a vulnerable victim in order to save her. Specifically in Taken, Liam Neeson's daughter was kidnapped and he spent his time searching for her. We decided to replicate this idea of a damsel in distress by getting our main character Hugo to save his kidnapped wife. Another convention that was prevalent throughout the films that we analysed was that the relationship between the protagonist and the victim would be established before the storyline was clear. For example, this was shown in Taken and Don't Say a Word, as there were multiple flashbacks which showed them hugging their daughters, making the audience aware of their relationship. We followed this by panning across a range of photos which showed the couple, Hugh Johnson and his wife Claire, together. Alongside this, we also used a phone call between the couple to establish their relationship. In our trailer, Bloodline, we followed conventions when it came down to characters. You see, our trailer conformed with stereotypical gender roles. For example, in Taken, The Call, and Don't Say a Word, the victim is female and the hero is male. In Taken, his daughter was kidnapped and he went on a quest to find her. And this was the same as Don't Say a Word. We conformed with this as our victim Claire was a female and our hero Hugh Johnson was a male. An example of where the stereotypical gender roles were reinforced was when the female was being kidnapped, which made her look very weak, and the male hero, Hugh Johnson, was shown as fighting his enemy in order to save his wife. Stop! Perfect. One convention that we conformed with when it came down to the mise en scène was lighting. In the beginning of each of the trailers that we analysed, there would be high-key lighting. However, as the storyline thickened, the lighting got darker and darker, and the trailer finished on low-key lighting. For example, in the beginning of the trailer of Taken, there was high-key lighting. However, when his daughter was kidnapped, the lighting got dimmer. We replicated this in our film, as in the beginning when Hugo is talking to his wife Claire, the lighting was very bright. However, when she was kidnapped, you could see that the lighting got extremely dimmer. For example, in the scene where she was tied up in a room, you could barely see her face due to the darkness. The change of lighting throughout the trailer represents the change in mood.